Shalom and welcome to 2 Minutes of Torah. This year is entitled Parshat Vayelach, God's abandonment and reconnection with the Jewish people. Very, very scary psukim in Parshat Vayelach. Talks about Hester Panim, God turning his face, so to speak, away from the Jewish people. Very, very difficult concept. Why does God do it? What causes that to happen? Not the discussion for now. I'll just quote from Rabbi Norman Lamb in his essay, 1986, The Face of God, and Rav Soloveitchik in Reflections of the Rav, where they both discuss and come to a similar conclusion. Either one is looking to point fingers at anyone and say, well, Holocaust was because of this. Rabbi Lamb quotes different opinions and rejects all of them. They both come to a similar conclusion that at some point in history, what occurred was exactly what was predicted in the psukim, the phenomena, the dreadful case of Hester Panim, where God simply turns away from the Jewish people and havoc results. It is not din, where God is saying this person will die because of this, that one will die because of that. That, he says, is exemplified by the Sarhurge Malchut, where they died for a specific reason. This is simply God abandoning us, and then everything just results from that. Rav Soloveitchik wants to say that period ended with the state of Israel. And now we are at a point of Gilui Shechina. We went from a point of Hester Panim for whatever reason. Rav doesn't say why, he just says that occurred. God abandoned us, so to speak. And then in 48, we went to the return to the period of Gilui Shechina, God's revelation. And Baruch Hashem, anyone living in the state of Israel should see God's revelation here on a daily basis, physically, spiritually, militarily, agriculturally. And I'd like just to point out a few recent occurrences. Bibi in the UN in the end of September, in his speech, he always talks about what a farce the UN is. He said it used to be a force, now it's a farce. It always was a farce, except for when they voted for us. And he says condemnations, 20 condemnations against Israel, and the rest of the world, 3 combined. He says it's a joke, but he says there's a bright future for Israel in the UN. We now have diplomatic relations with how many nations in the world? 10, 15, 20? No, 160. How could that be? With the BDS movement and others coming to attack us, still we have forged relationships with many countries in the world who realize, from China to Japan to Saudi Arabia to Egypt to Jordan, and the list goes on. Greece, of course, Cyprus, Turkey. The list goes on and on and on. Surprising allegiances, because they realize it is good and beneficial to be friends with us. Whether it's self-serving or not doesn't matter. They are connected to us, and that is an unbelievable sign of Gilui Shechina, because the natural Natiyah is Esav Sonei Yaakov. When God abandons us and leaves the world to havoc, then that's exactly what happens. The hatred comes out, and the fact that now they overcome the hatred to work with us is an amazing sign. And finally, just recently, Dani Danon in the UN, Israel is now for the first time chairing a major committee in the UN. The UN, which is just a source of all hatred. It's a hornet's nest. And now they've given him the ability to chair the committee. The Israelis are chairing a committee on anti-terrorism, which of course makes perfect rational sense. But what does rational sense have to do with the UN? To me, these are all signs of Gilui Shechina. We should go ahead and have so much Hakarat Tov to Hashem and to all the people who are involved in helping further Israel and its connections to the world and furthering the life, the standard of living here. We should have tremendous Hakarat Tov, because the more we live in a time, a period of Gilui Shechina, of God's revelation to the Jewish people, the more Hakarat Tov and thanks and appreciation we must have to the Almighty for being privileged to live in such blessed times. Shalom.